So this is PDB like a pro because Calvin, who's not here, he gave a talk, So You Think You Can PDB? So that title was already taken. That was 2 years ago, I think, so I took this one. My name is Philip Bauer. I'm a web developer from Germany. I do Plone mostly. And I only have 20 minutes, so I'm gonna not bore you with the details because you should actually learn them yourselves. The basics are you can list your code when you're in a PDB. You can step to the next go to the next line. You can step into the execution of whatever code is in that line. You can return from that function to the previous stack, and you can continue whereas you finish your PDB session. The basics version 2. You can look at the whole stack trace. You can go up and down in said stack trace. You can set breakpoints, and very nicely you can set temporary breakpoints that disappear after you hit them the first time. So you say T break, and you have to add a line 22, and say continue, and it stops in line 22, but the next time you're going to run the same code, there's not going to be a breakpoint again. And with A or args, you see the values of the arguments that are passed to the method that you are currently in. These are the basics. If you don't know them, you should study them, and I'm not going to bother you anymore. So we're going to pimp the PDB before because the basics are cool, but we're never content with the basics. We always want the best of the best of the best. So some of the obvious enhancements out there, there's like, it's always matter of taste. PDB++ or PDB PP, because for obvious reasons, PyPy doesn't support the plus sign as a package name. IPDB, which is a PDB version that supports IPython. BPDB, which is a PDB version that supports BPython, whoever likes and uses that. There's PUDB and the nicest thing, Python itself. Because if you're fortunate enough to be able to use Python 3.2 or above, you have some really beautiful enhancements that made it into the standard version's PDB, including LL, which is long list, and it shows you the code of the current method in its entirety. Also, you have a nice wrapper for source. If you type source, you get the full source code of whichever object, or if you give it an argument, it tries to get the source and print it to you. It also has quite an additional number of nice additions. This is a Plone conference, so Python 3.2 is still at least a couple of months away. Depends on how busy you're going to be during these sprints. So one of the options is IPDB. You see a lot of people using that. Has really nice features, code highlighting, code completion, listing of whatever arguments. What I don't like are the dependencies and the really weird SQLite database that it somehow uses, and when I stop my IPDB session, always messes up my terminal, but I don't care about that much. What I also don't like, you need to put IPDB and IPDB set trace. So it's a little different when you're on a server. You can't use that, so you do PDB, and it's muscle memory, so you're probably not going to get the result you want, but still it's nice. PUDB has really nice features and has a UI that has a lot of lovers and a lot of haters. You need to write PUDB, and it looks like this if you make it blue, which makes it harder to read. So it's a text version, full size PDB. You see the code, you see the stack trace, you see the variables, you have a command line. You can't operate on it with a mouse, so you need to learn muscle memory, again, new commands, but it's really nice. I used it for quite some time. But I decided to focus on PDB++, actually called PDB PP. Has nice features, about the same as IPDB, has almost no dependencies, and best, it's a drop-in replacement for PDB. Actually, it monkey patches PDB a bit and extends it. One minus is it needs a configuration file, but first let me show you a quick demo of PDB. So I have a sorry. This is the website we created during the training, mastering Plone, and I added a PDB somewhere in the code. Hang on, let me close this. Where's my PDB? What's happening? Okay, hang on. Okay, here it is. So here's my PDB. So I'm going to call the front page view and drops me in some PDB. I just reload the view, end up in the PDB. This is IPDB. I'm going to make it a little bigger so you can actually see it. So the nicest thing about IPDB, PDB++, is it has the long list method that comes with PDB in Python version 3.2. So if you do LL, you get the whole code, and you get it again and again and again. You don't have to type L, because when you type L in PDB twice, you get the lines, next 10 lines, and then the next 10 lines afterwards. And so you also have to scroll up, find the line number, and it does L, line number, start, line number, end. So what the heck? Who dreamt that up? That was terrible. So that is really beautiful. That's killer feature number one. Also, it has a sticky mode. Some people love it. I don't care about that much. I can see and I can inspect objects with a question mark. So if I look at, let's say, there is a brain. I can inspect that with a question mark, similar to PDB++. And if I say brain get object, has tab completion as well. I can look at that. I can look at the class of that. And I can look at the code of the class. So that is really nice. But here I'm already mixing several things that come with built-in Python and PDB++. So let's get back to the demonstration. I think the long list is the easy sell. This is sadly the config file you need. Otherwise, in some cases, you'll lose your. You can't enter anything anymore after you press continue. I'll leave that up for you to copy and paste. So features, syntax highlighting, long list. You can track expressions, and whenever they change, they pop up. You can display expressions, and they always show up, and I don't know why you have both. You can source expression, displays the source. You can inspect them with question mark and question mark, which displays the code and information about the object or the expression. Find someone you trust and imagine them telling you to give it a try. Yes?
How do you drop it in?
You just PDB. Oh, I didn't. So there's just a PDB. I did nothing special. You do pip install PDB pp, or you add PDB pp to the packages in your build out. So that's, if it's in your virtual env, it's just going to be used. Introspection. So now we're leaving PDB and using Python actually. This is stuff you should actually really learn and find out. And a lot of people don't know about some of this stuff. You've ever been in Plone code and did dir portal or something? You get, that is so bad. No, you don't want that. So what is really nice, I'm going to show you that just quickly. Help object, help. This is built in. This is not a module from the standard library. It's built into Plone, into Python. And I don't know, nobody knows about that. It's so crazy. You can look at the class. You can look at all the local variables. You use prettyprint to print them nicely. I'm going to show you an example from that. If you have a class, you can look at a dict of that class that returns you a dict proxy object that you have to wrap in a dict to make it print nicely, and it has quite a lot of funny information. I'm going to show you some examples for that. So first of all, so what do we have here? Self, locals. Always use pp, pretty print. So where am I in my stack trace? What the heck? So here I have, do I have some, here's a brain, okay. Object equals brain, get object. So now I got something to inspect actually. Now I have a Plone object. This is a talk from the training, and when I say I need to do a help object, it gives me the implicit acquisition wrapper bad. If I don't want the implicit acquisition wrapper, I say give me the class of said object, and I have the complete method resolution order. There's nothing PDB or add-on here. I have for the base class, it's for the current class itself, all the methods defined here, all the data and attributes defined here, and the same for the whole method resolution order. I've never seen any add-on that is actually as good as help, which is built into Python, and I wonder why nobody uses it. Who knows about that and who uses it? That's a really small minority of the people here. Should really use it. I need to use a exclamation mark to not confuse, because PDB otherwise tries to use the built-in help, because it has a help command itself. So that is great. What I'm going to show you, pp locals. You saw the pp local. Oh, another one. Object class. That's the class. It has a dict attribute property, I think, whatever it is. It's a dict proxy, so I can't pp it because it's some weird thing. I have to wrap it in a dict again. Oops. And then I see quite a lot of nice information again for this object, and including the values of these objects or the type of these this information. C is continue. Yes.
If you don't want to do dot under dict under, there's actually a built-in function vars which returns you a
Bars.
Vars, V-A-R-S.
Python.
And then you don't have to do all the underscores.
Thank you so much. There's also the inspect module. Gonna not do a demo from that because it's actually not that beautiful, but it's used by all these additional helpers that you have. You can import inspect, get the source, for example, for the class. There's also get source lines, which then ruins everything. But for add-ons, it's really nicely because then you can modify that, get the MRO, and so on and so on. It's in the standard library. It's really powerful. But I guess what you came here for, these were some advanced tricks, but they were from Python. It's, oh, this is wrong. Some tricks, conditional breakpoints. It's a no-brainer, basically. If you have if you have a loop and goes for brain in all the brains in the world, but it only breaks in one, but there is no exception that's raised because there's a try except somewhere there. You want a if foo equals bar, then just set a PDB. It saves you a lot of time. I've spent so much time trying to do continue, and then it happens. And this is the best ever. Who knows about the debug command inside PDB? Hands up. 1, 2, maybe. This is crazy. So now, yeah, the debug command, it's not documented. It's only in the inline documentation of PDB, and there's a one-liner about there. On the website, it's nothing. I don't know why. Who wrote it? Whatever. It's just magically there. You can call any code that you want and step into it automatically with a PDB in a PDB. So it's an interactive debugger within a debugger. And you need to step into the method after you call it. So imagine we have a self context, and then that's a document in this case, and then I say debug self-context can-set layout because I want to find out why can-set layout returns 0. I want that, but I can't, whatever, why? Do a step. Your PDB is automatically wrapped in 2 brackets, and then you're in code and you can do next and inspect the whole thing. It's really amazing. In some cases, after you do continue, everything breaks and you have to restart your instance again. But at that point, you already solved your problem. You can fix your code, restart the instance. Just takes a couple of seconds. It doesn't really hurt. Do you want to see that? Yes, I'm going to show you. Let's reload the front page. Self context. What was it? What is it? Can-set layout. So that's a bound method. I can actually look at the code since I'm in a PDB++, but I'm not. PDB++ doesn't allow me to step in that code. I can only look at it, which is really nice. But now I can debug. I'm going to call it step. And now I'm actually in this method. And I can see that the permission that is asked, this is the name of the permission. And this is obviously whatever, it's false or true. And now I'm leaving the recursive debugger. It's not breaking. The cool thing is you can do that with code that is a couple of lines, with any code, including the code that is a couple of lines above what just happened. So you have a PDB in line 25, but the thing you actually wanted to inspect was in line 21, but you didn't know that when you set the PDB. So you can just say, PDB debug, copy and paste the whole line, step into it, and inspect the whole method. Again, after a while, the whole thing will break. I actually don't really know why. It's not like during debugging, it's just when you hit continue, sometimes it breaks and the instance stops. Maybe that's just a Plone thing, and in Pyramid it doesn't happen.
Or maybe that's why it's not the documentation.
Maybe.
I don't know if you're going to say it afterwards, but in the example you just gave, and if you're in a line after something happened,
yeah,
you can jump.
Yeah, that's true. You can in PD allows you to jump in some line and then step into the next line. That is similar, but jump only allows you to execute code that's actually in the method that you're currently in. Here, I can import something from Plone API and run or just do whatever I want and be in an interactive debugger. So that is, I think, Wolfgang showed me that. He's the real hero there. That was the demo, awesome. Very nice trick. Most of the people know it. Too few use it. Post-mortem debugging. So whenever there's a traceback, you automatically end up in a PDB when you use, in Plone at least, products PDB debug mode. I guess for most other frameworks there's something similar. It basically wraps the whole application in a try except, and if except happens, like run the command, you just wrap it and you're in a PDB. That's really nice. In Plone you should, this also drops you in a PDB when a log warn happens, which happens, for example, when a indexer executable is not found. So if you have a huge site, try to re-index it or migrate it. You'd want to switch it up, otherwise you're going to be stuck on the continue button for a while. Post-mortem testing, really nice. Bin test D or bin test whatever test you want to run D. Whenever the test either fails or errors, you end up in a PDB session. Same works with PyTest and nose test, just minus PDB. In unit test, you need, if you use pure unit test, you need to wrap the whole test runner or your test call in a try except, and then you do PDB post-mortem and you pass it Google it. Stack Overflow will tell you how to do that. This is test-driven, debug-driven development, so TDDDD. Yes, and it's really powerful because when you like test-driven development, this gives you another boost because you don't have to, okay, my test fails, now I've run my code, I run the test, it fails, but I don't know why. Then I put a PDB in, just run the test with a -D, capital D in Plone at least, and then you can write your code inside the PDB, copy and paste the code in your application. Really nice. That is an example of that, just a screenshot. That was a test from the PloneConf site package that I broke by, and a nice thing about PDB, it hides frames that are not interesting to you. I don't know how it knows what's not interesting to you, but it actually knows. So it hides the stuff that is super boring for you, stuff that's in PDB itself, for example. So I always end up in the assert true statement. If I do that without a PDB++, I'm inside unit test. So that is really nice too. You can customize your PDBs, what I did. You can have a .pdbrc, and you can add aliases. And one I really love is alias inspect, import inspect, print inspect, get source. And then you can say inspect whatever method you give it, and it prints you the source. PDB++ allows you to do the same thing with the question mark, but it's still nice. Also help, since I use help a lot, they built in help from Python a lot. Alias help is exclamation mark print, because I don't know why, but it needs an exclamation mark, help and help object. So I can say help space whatever, which is kind of the old way you do print and so on. So really nice. Another tip, it's not a tip, it's an application that I couldn't live without as a developer when it comes to debugging, because it collects the tracebacks that not you get, but your customer, your client. And it's a web application, it's open source, it's running on Django, and it collects all the tracebacks from all the Zio clients and Zio servers that you have running around. Otherwise you'd go have to find out which server that happens in, have to go look up the log file, including all arguments for all stacks, and that is awesome. So just an example. Hands up if you don't use Sentry. That's too many. Yeah, don't. If you don't use Sentry. This is Sentry. It's full of. This is a traceback from a customer, and they're so cool. They're so nice. Now they filter the password. Otherwise, you'd know the password from that user now, from my client, which would not be good. So here are the arguments for the number whatever in the stack trace, and this is the call, and this is what happens, and I can actually find out what's going wrong before my client can call me and tell me everything's broken. I can, yes, I know, because you did whatever, or we did whatever. So this is a really nice tool. Summary, since I don't have, not a lot of time. So what you want to take away from this short talk is learn the basics and be familiar with them. Try PDB++, or if you like any of the other add-ons, additions, try them. Learn about default introspection tools in Python, especially help, the inspect module, the dig proxy, the vars, and whatever. Try debug, callable. That is really, really boosting your productivity when you try to figure out what's going on. Use postmortem debugging. Always use pretty print, because your eyes will hurt otherwise. And that is it. And if you have any questions, please raise them now.
Quick comment. When you're using PDB and you're trying to get the state of a persistent object, sometimes you have to first try to, before you get the under dict of the object, you need to try to access some attribute to unghostify the object first.
What?
Unghostify the object. So initially you load an object, what you're actually loading is a ghost. In order to be able to debug the state of that object, you need to try to access some attribute. So
I see people nodding their heads. I have no idea what you're talking about, but it's probably true. Nobody's shaking their head. Oh.
You're like, why is this empty? So
okay, good tip.
The answer is try to access any attribute, and then it will ZODB will unghostify the object, and it will be something that is cached in memory, and you can actually access.
Thank you. Great tip. Great tip. Thank you for that. Other tips and tricks you want to share? Did I miss something really obvious? Why didn't you talk about
conditional breakpoints instead of actually throwing the line in there? You know, if this is true, then enter the debugger. Whereas actually, if you're, and it it's so hard to use. I'd rather do what you did.
Yeah, that's
You can
the.
actually add a,
Yeah, you can add conditional breakpoints, but the syntax is
it's garbage.
nonsense. Why don't you do the if is so nice?
Thank you for giving me permission to do that.
Like I mentioned, there's PDB debug mode and a couple of other modules that allow you to step into Python scripts or restricted Python, or is it?
Oh, restricted Python. Yeah, if you use restricted Python, you should. I don't know. Get in your car and drive into the future, or stay where you are. If you have legacy code, use there's add-ons for Plone. It's products enable set trace and products I enable set trace, which is totally ridiculous fork that allows that you do the same with IPDB. It helps you when you have old stuff, definitely. Come again?
/PDB.
Oh yeah, PDB debug mode is really nice if you work with Plone. There is, I guess, all the other frameworks can do something like that. PDB debug mode has a browser view built in. It's called PDB, and if you call it in any object, it'll drop you in a PDB interactive session. So self-contact is going to be that object, which is really nice when you inspect something that is it doesn't even render, but the PDB view will render and you can see what's going on there. That is really helpful as well. Also, very important information. All the pictures here were from Maine, so it's my first time in New England, and I totally loved Maine. I was sitting here drinking coffee for a whole week, not preparing this talk, but the training I did yesterday and the day before. So thanks New England for having me. That was great. Thank you very much. Have a good day.